A reading from 1 Philippians from Epistle Now by Leslie Brandt. I have met some beautiful people in the course of my travels. They are my sisters and brothers in Christ, fellow servants in the kingdom work of God. Every time I think about them, I do so prayerfully, and a surge of joy fills my heart. God spoke to me, comforted me in my despair, and through these people challenged me in my apathy. I pray that God will continue to use them to reach others, even as he used them to undergird and uplift me, and that what he has begun, he will continue until we are brought together in everlasting fellowship in that dimension beyond this life and world. God has not given up on our world. He is here, sometimes because of us, sometimes in spite of us. He's working out his purposes in our world. Our greatest concern at this point is that we do not fail to give God our all and to risk our all, that his purposes may be accomplished through us. This is the testimony of the community of faith.
Thanks be to God.
Sing well.
In the name of Jesus, we welcome you in the name of Jesus. We are happy to sing with you. We are happy to sing with you.
You happy?
This is how we are greeted when we go to Kenya by the primary school students at Sambalat. The Kenya Partnership began 17 years ago and continues to grow and be strengthened as friendships are nurtured and education becomes a reality for more students. Today, I give thanks for Jack Harris for his vision and commitment in developing and laying the foundation of this partnership. Jack is deeply missed, and his legacy lives on as the partnership continues to grow. The foundation of this partnership is relationships. When we travel there, people often ask me, well, what are you going to do? And I will always tell them, build relationships. Lena, as you see here, I met on my first trip to Kenya in 2007. You see her here with her daughter Phoebe and her grandson Brian. We don't speak much of each other's language, but we don't have to. Our eyes, our hugs, our smiles, our faith bring us together, and they hold that friendship strong. Our focus is education. A project that we worked on for several years was building a library in the community of Sambalat. We met with the library committee there when we were there in January, and we heard that the librarian, Linson, volunteers his time. The community is also asking that the library be open more hours. The teachers are so grateful for extra resources for their students and themselves. Other projects that align with our focus on education are the Women's Loan Project, the McKinney Pad Project, and our largest and most primary project, the Student Sponsorship Program. You will hear about all these programs this morning.
A continuing success within our Kenya partnership is the Women's Entrepreneurial Program. This program gives microloans to women in the Kerio Valley to start a small business. The program also allows the women the opportunity to get support and network with each other. When the loans are repaid, there is money to lend to more women to start their businesses. Their businesses range from anywhere from restaurants to shops to tailoring to purchasing animals. The video that follows is a thank you from a woman who used her loan to purchase a cow and sells the milk to buy food and pay the fees for her children to go to school.
I
Doing this first name.
I'm
very happy today
very
because of these friends. They brought us from ground
mpaka yenye micha.
up to where we are now.
Moi na Mungu kongoi mu robiye jogi konu chorwa chweni.
I thank God for the money that these friends gave us.
Ke alata
I've bought a cow,
nyabecha.
dairy cow,
Ngota nyone
and that cow,
oldo ya chechole chonyuri ya 10,000 gwari ngwarawa.
I sell milk that I get over 10,000 per month.
Ango kany atinga mor nyokwaldo nyebo 10,000.
And in 1 year, I have a young, a calf that I can sell for 20,000 a year.
Kyotinga lau ba school jalari
I have 2 school children.
nyoge wonga ka form 4.
Another one finished Form 4 last year.
Kitore tarubiye chache sana.
That amount helped me so much
Kabai lagok chimi kot
to feed the children in the house
akusomesha ndimi school.
and also to educate those who are in school.
Ale na bichu mkanya kubero kwa Mungu kabisa.
So I say, may God bless you
Kabisa.
so much.
Now, imagine, if you can, that you are a 14 or maybe 16 or maybe even an 18-year-old girl. And it's that time again that you have your menstrual cycle. You have choices. You can use grass, leaves, or maybe, if you're fortunate, rags to absorb the embarrassment. But now, in reality, because of our bikini pad projects, there are girls in the Curio Valley who don't have to stay home from school on those days like many were doing previously, because many of you have donated the bikini pads, which are washable, reusable sanitary pads that the girls are really loving. We have given enough bikini pads for the Latier Secondary School now and the Sambalat Primary School, so that's 600 and 300. When we were in Kenya last January, we spoke to the girls about how they felt about the pads, and listen as one of them tells you her feelings.
Yes, so I'm Amy Chesarek Jepto, and I'm so happy and appreciate you for your coming, for your arrival. It is God, and I don't know how to say this. It is just wonderful, and this is God. For the bikini pads, we really liked it. Our friends, my fellow students, they are really happy. They said, "Wow, how do these things were made?" Especially for the special ones like us. They really appreciate it. We use it. It is good. It works well. When you use them, we just dry. It dries for some 2 to 3 hours. It is well. You can use it for the second time. We really liked it, and we really love you so much. We pray that God may give you that courage, may be with you, travel with you wherever you go. And as we have confirmed that you are really our friends, we really pray and we thank you. And our prayer is that next time when you come, we'll have something to give you. We'll not go like this. We'll present something wonderful to you. That's our prayer. God bless you so much as we go there. Greet our friends. Tell them you will come there. We'll make every effort to make sure that we come and unite with you one day in the United States. For the love and the gift you gave us, it really showed that you are our friends. You care for us despite the far you come from. You make any effort to make sure that you reach here to see us. Thank you so much. I love you, and I really pray for you. May the Almighty God grant you the vast knowledge, grant you wisdom, grant you peace, and work with you in wherever you go, give you good health, and be blessed so much. Thank you.
The most exciting news we had was received from the principal at the Latier Secondary School, who reported that the mean scores of the school went from 5.52 in 2014 to 6.333 in 2015. And she attributes the higher scores to better attendance. The bikini pads are a wonderful way to increase dignity and confidence for young women.
The Kenyan government pays for education through grade 8, but secondary school is paid for by the parents of students. Due to this hardship, many youth are unable to attend secondary school. Their parents cannot afford this cost. While $625 may not seem like a lot for 1 year of boarding school, for some families in Kenya, it could be about half of their annual income. College and university educations are also difficult to attend, as there are significant costs for the first year that many families cannot afford. By the request of our Kenyan partners, we have established a sponsorship program to support the students of need. These students apply for a sponsorship and are selected by a panel of church leaders from our partners in Kenya. Besides need, students must be high achievers and show potential to be leaders in their communities. Our sponsors have an opportunity to sponsor a full or half sponsorship. The program has grown over the past few years. In the first year, 3 sponsoring families supported 2 university students. In the years since, we have supported 66 different students. Last year, we had 55 sponsors. 17 of them were first-time sponsors. Together, we are sponsoring 29 high school students and 14 college students. 11 of our high school students will be graduating this year. The program continues to be the most important to our Kenyan partners. As you will see and hear over the next few minutes, this program has touched many lives.
I'm really excited for you to see this next young woman who is being sponsored by your Joyful Noise offerings.
I'm Olive Kimayo. I'm in Form 2 West. I would like to thank you for considering me as a child, and also for accepting me and helping me in paying my school fees. And my favorite subject is geography and Kiswahili. I would like to pray for you so that you can continue paying me the fees. And I am grateful for giving me the chance, and I'm happy that I pray that God may bless you abundantly. Thank you.
On a little side note, you might have noticed the children in the background running, and you perhaps thought they were in a Phi-Ed class or something, but in actuality it was starting to rain, so they had to go get their clothes off of the lines and the bushes and the places where they dry their clothes, because of course they do their own laundry. They do their own uniforms. So they were just retrieving their laundry. The next student, Dorcas Yano, was sponsored as a high school student by Dave Cooley and Val Schultz. When we saw her last January, she was receiving a government loan for her second year of university at the University of Nairobi, and would be declaring her specialty at the end of the semester. As it turned out, we had the opportunity to visit her village of Arol, where she's from, on our last trip, and even we were surprised at how very remote it is. Listen as she tells us how she looks forward to sponsoring a child just as she was sponsored.
My name is Dorcas Sukemoyano, second year student in University of Nairobi, taking Bachelor of Commerce. I'm grateful to this family for this far. It has taken your hand and your prayers and your sponsorship that I'm in this level of education. I thank you so much for being with me during that time. May God bless you so much. Look forward to sponsor a child just like the way you did it in my high school education. Thank you so much.
Last January, during our last mission trip to Kenya, I had an opportunity to meet many of the high school students and university students that have been supported by our Kenya Student Sponsorship Program. All of the students offer their thanks and gratitude for the support they had been given. One meeting with a particular student stands out most in my memory. This student's name was Philemon. Like most of the meetings with the students, when we arrived at the schoolyard, all activity stopped. It was very unusual for 4 white people to show up at a school in the Curio Valley. Some of the students appeared a little shy or apprehensive about coming out to meet us, since this often created a spectacle with their entire class peers looking on. I remember, however, Philemon walked very eagerly across the schoolyard and appeared to be very happy to meet us. After introductions, Philemon went on to tell us his story. High schools, which are always boarding schools in Kenya, are not free. A parent, relative, or someone must pay the tuition for the student. For many children in Kenya, secondary education is only a dream. Philemon had run out of financial support, and his tuition payments were in arrears in the middle of his second year. When this happens in Kenya, the school simply sends the student home. Philemon described for us what it was like to be sent home, his education and future hopes very much in doubt. After some time, when Philemon's situation became known, he received a scholarship through our student sponsorship program. When Philemon learned he was accepted back at school, he told us about his concerns and worries on his way back. Would his teachers accept him back? Would he be worth their effort? Would it be possible for him to catch up with all the classwork he had missed? In his own words, when you are sent home and when you come back to class, you cannot feel comfortable. You feel, teacher, please accept me. Philemon told us he was able to catch up on his studies, and everything was now going fine, and he finally felt secure. With quiet humility, sincerity, and gratitude, and maybe a tear or two of joy in his eyes, he delivered and reiterated his promise to us several times. I will deliver good results, meaning his grades. In talking to one of the headmasters at this boys' school, we found out that Philemon had indeed become a good student, a leader in his group, and that his grades would likely be good enough for him to eventually get into university, which was his future hopes and goals. Because Philemon was articulate and didn't mind sharing his feelings, we learned what it was like for a young Kenyan student to live on what we consider the edge of abject poverty. His story also left a tear or two in the back of our eyes. His story, indeed, is much happier than many of the other students in this country. I read the newspaper every morning. World news is full of stories of warfare, strife, inequality, and poverty. Sometimes it makes me feel a little depressed. What can a person living in Appleton, Wisconsin possibly do about this? How can one possibly ever make a difference? Well, now I know of at least one thing.
Collector State Philemon, I'm saying thanks for coming to this Rabbinate of Keriopale. We come, I'm thanking you for the safe journey masses that you come to our places, to come to this Rabbinate of Keriopale. We thank you, and I thank you, and I promise that I will make you by producing a good result and all everything I can make in class. I'm now very comfortable and I can do all the things. Thank you very much and may God bless you.
Like I mentioned in the children's service, I was very blessed to be able to go to Kenya and meet wonderful people. I remember clearly visiting the Captuous orphanage. When we first arrived, many of the orphans were kicking a soccer ball on the hillside. The first memory of the orphanage was the smell of campfire. I love to camp, and I've cooked on a campfire many times, but I feel like it's quite different to cook over an open fire for 24 orphans every day. As we were led in the building, I noticed the only light came from the open windows and doors. One room was filled with dried corn, waiting to be made into ugali, which is a traditional Kenya cornmeal mush. The next room had bunk beds, and arranged on the windowsill was a string of children's clothing. And I thought of the drawers and closets
full of clothes that my two girls have, and I must admit, I have also. The children were called inside to have chai with us and to sing us a welcome song. We presented the orphanage with soccer balls that were donated from the Appleton Soccer Club, so of course we had to go outside and kick around the balls. Most of the children wore rubber-type sandals, which they soon kicked off and were playing in their socks or even barefoot. We were busy taking pictures and laughing when a teenage boy came up to me and wondered if we could sponsor him to go to high school. He told me that he was sent home for not having school fees. We came to hear that same story from the young man Philemon, which was presented in the video. And he talked about how feeling afraid and unsure of his future. During our time in Kenya, we also received a letter from a young man. The letter asked us to pray for him. He too was trying to figure out a way to complete his education and his dream of being a nurse. I think about those two men often, and I pray for them often. There are so many children in Kenya, and the need is so great. It reminds me of the starfish story, which I'm sure you've heard quite often, but I'm going to tell you it again. A young girl was walking along a beach upon which thousands of starfish had been washed up during a terrible storm. When she came to each starfish, she would pick it up and throw it back in the ocean. People watched her with amusement. She had been doing this for some time when a man approached her and said, "Little girl, why are you doing this? Look at this beach. You can't save all these starfish. You can't even begin to make a difference." The girl seemed crushed, suddenly deflated, but after a few moments, she bent down, picked up another starfish, and hurled it as far as she could into the ocean. Then she looked up at that man and replied, "Well, I made a difference to that one." It does make a difference to every student we sponsor in Kenya. And I admire the words of Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world.
These three young men are all graduating this year. I met Victor, Evans, and Evans when they were in Form 2, which is sophomore in high school. We met them again in January at their school. Their principal told us that they are all outstanding young men and show great potential. We also met Evan's mother. And I've often thought about what it must be to be a mother. And how do you thank another person for giving your child the gift of hope, the gift that giving them education will bring? I've seen these mothers and fathers pour out their heartfelt thanks. I've seen them look at us with tears in their eyes and say, "Please tell our child sponsor thank you." But how do we share that with you? So today, on behalf of all the mothers and fathers, the grandparents, and the communities in Kenya, I share with you their thanks. May God bless you.